So this one is for Sarah Ingham directly. I need to have a word with you, Sarah. So Chris, if you're watching this, toddle along and get your good wife over here because she needs to hear this information, because I feel like she's living in a bubble at the moment. She put out a comment or a reply to a comment which is inherently bloody stupid, and I need to address it to tell her why it's stupid and that she needs to look a little bit closer and stop just blindly following her very, very creepy and yet stupid husband, right? So somebody commented, how the heck do you afford to live in Dubai? And it's a fair question, obviously, isn't it? I think it was done with every fair intention. So Sarah replied thusly: we were paying 6 figures to the government in tax per year in the UK. Rather leave as residents and spend that money giving ourselves and our children an amazing way of life instead. So, Sarah, oh my God, right? Oh my God. We were paying 6 figures. Do you know how many 6 figures is? Do you have any knowledge about taxes or numbers or maths in general, anything, right? 6 figures is bare minimum £100,000. So what you're saying is you were paying at least £100,000. Obviously, we don't know how many beyond the 6 figures she's talking about, but £100,000 as a bare minimum. So do you know how much money you would need to be making per year, bare minimum? All right, you would be needing to make £255,000 per year at least, right? According to this calculation tool that I found, right, it says you'd have to be making at least £255,000 per year in order to pay £100,000 in tax. Now, I'm thinking that no, no, that's not only untrue, but it's widely untrue, right? So we're going to have a quick look at the Ingham family books, which are public, By the way, incidentally, by leaving the UK to go to Dubai doesn't automatically mean that you don't pay tax in the UK anymore, because you're saying you've left because you were paying £100,000 in tax, and yet you forget somehow to close down your UK-based business. Whilst your UK-based business is doing business in the UK, you still have to pay UK tax, right? I'm not sure if you know that, but you actually do have to. I don't know if Chris has told you that, or what story Chris is spinning you right now, because none of that is true. You have to still pay tax. Just because you've left does not mean you avoid tax. You would have to close down your business and open one over there in Dubai, which apparently, allegedly, you've done. I have not seen what this business is called or where this business is based at the moment. But anyway, so your bank account and your accounts, which are publicly available for those of you who are thinking, wow, he's a bit of a stalker, isn't he? No, they are publicly available. So we're going to take a quick look to see if your accounts kind of suggest that you are making the sort of money that would be required to pay £100,000 in income tax or any other tax. Now, I want to preface this by saying I'm not a tax expert. In fact, I find taxes very difficult to get my head around, right? But if you look at the accounting, this is for the period of 2023, and it's saying here that their fixed assets are £65,000. They've got debtors of £59,000, but the cash at the bank is the most interesting one that you can tell here. And that says a grand total of £202. Now, I'm no maths wizard, right? And I'm not an accountant, and I'm not I hate accounts, right? I said that already. But I'm thinking that £202 in your bank account isn't the best. Now, I know business works slightly different in that a lot of it is tied up in assets and stuff like that. That's how it works, right? But looking just plainly £202 in your bank account, what are you going to do with that? You can't do anything with that. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Literally nothing. It's frightening that you think that you would be paying £100,000 in tax. There isn't. You don't even have like the required amount in assets, let alone in cash. It's also just to put more of a finer point on this. You still have an outstanding loan for £36,000, and I can't understand why a business as well run as yours, that would be making as much money as yours and paying as much tax as you claim to do, would actually need a loan of around about £40,000. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Yes, of course, there is me, who is very much the layman. I don't understand these things. I probably understand them as much as... No. Sorry, I'll say I understand it a little bit more than Sarah Ingham, because she doesn't quite get it. She definitely doesn't get it, right? And I feel like she needs to take a closer look at the books, a closer look at how much tax they've actually been paying, because apparently, according to her, she's been paying £100,000 in tax. That's an insane amount. Insane, right? So, that would put you in the higher tax bracket, where you're paying, what is it, 45%? I think 45%, something like that, right? And you reckon that you're paying that amount? You were paying that amount. I don't know, back in the day, maybe they did pay a lot of tax at one point, maybe back in 2017, where they were like at the height of their success. They maybe were paying a lot of tax, but that is no longer the case, because they're getting like 20,000-30,000 views a day, which, you know, it's not a lot of views, right? It really isn't. It equates to around about £150 maybe a vlog, if they're lucky, right? So off the top of my head, that's what, about 10 grand a week, maybe. Yeah, 10 grand a week. I'm getting awkward vibes here. Awkward vibes. 10 grand a week. That's 40 grand. Hold on. I'm getting a realization here, and it's not good. It's not good. It absolutely isn't good. If they are on 10 grand a week, that equates to 500 grand a year. Can that be right? It feels like it's not right. It feels like it's not right. Okay, so right, my next question, Chris. If you're on as much as in my head I'm calculating, right? Why don't your books show the amount that you're earning allegedly? right? Because there's no way, you cannot convince me that those books show the amount of money that you claim to have earned. No chance, no way, no hell, no how, right? Absolutely not. No way, right? So where is the rest of the money on those books? Doesn't look right to me at all. Nope, sorry. So there is that. If anybody has more knowledge about this than me, please let me know in the comments down below. That would be great, because my brain has just gone, has done a 180. It feels fried, and I feel like I'm going to lose control, and I like it. Anyway, right, there's one other topic I would like to discuss here. Sarah put out something about them living in Dubai. So somebody commented, you don't spend 5 to 6 months in Dubai. You're coming back to the UK in July, because Sarah said that they spend 5 to 6 months in Dubai, apparently, right? You don't spend 5 to 6 months in Dubai. You're coming back to the UK in July. And have you read the comments in the Daily Mail with you being at the Radford party? Sarah replied in the inimitable way that Sarah can and does on a frequent basis. She said, sorry, is there not 5 to 6 months left in the year? So how do you know how long we might spend here? Because, Sarah, you put out exactly what your plans are for the year. You've told us that you're going to be back in the UK in July. You're then going on an all-inclusive holiday at some point during the year. You're then going away to on a Scotland road trip, I believe, and then you're going to move to Scandinavia. You're going to buy a property out there and have spend Christmas out in Scandinavia. So yes, yeah, we do know what you're up to for the rest of the year, because you put it out there yourself. It's not rocket science, and it involves no stalking required. Am I right? She goes on to say, and no, I haven't read any comments on any scum online newspaper. I stopped doing that a good 8 years ago, when I realised I might as well read threads on a hate forum if I was going to read threads like that. She's saying she stopped reading things about herself or news articles about herself 8 years ago, because that was exactly when the allegations came out about Chris, and Chris was all over the newspapers telling their lies, isn't it, about Chris and his ways. Anyway, she goes on to say, all the same people, and I couldn't give a rat's ass what a single one of you think. Opinions of people like that don't matter to me. Enjoy your evening, Tomo. Well, the thing is, Sarah, that like people can be a bit nasty. I admit that, they'll be a bit nasty. But with you, it's kind of like justified, a lot of the opinions. You're talking about the newspaper articles and stuff, but they were there for a reason. They weren't lying. And you've never come out and said, by the way, that newspaper The Sun put out 8 years ago, yeah, that was a lie. No, because it wasn't a lie. You haven't said anything. You haven't rebuked it or anything like that. So, yeah, that is Sarah making a fool of herself on a constant basis, isn't it? A constant basis. So, what do you think of this situation? Let me know in the comments down below all of your thoughts. Do you reckon they earn enough to spend £100,000 a year on tax in the UK? Add to that the fact that if they did, right, and they've moved to Dubai to avoid that, they've not shut their business down, so they still have to pay the tax in the UK, the 100 grand a year, right? If that's the case. So that makes no sense whatsoever. Sarah, look it up. Read up about it. I think you need to know more about your own business, honestly. You'd be no good going on Dragon's Den. You know the dragons that grill the people about the business plans and the business money and stuff like that, Sarah would crumble under the pressure. She wouldn't have a clue. Deborah would absolutely destroy her. Absolutely. Anyway, sorry, that was just an aside. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a massive thumbs up, comment all of your thoughts about it down below, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and bye-bye.